We're joined by a Tour Championship finalist, and we catch up with another Korn Ferry Tour winner on the road to French Lick. Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to the Road to French Lick, a show chronicling the Korn Ferry Tour. I'm Ryan Ballengee. On this week's show, we bring you to the quarter point or so on the season for the 2025 Korn Ferry Tour schedule. We'll talk with former Korn Ferry Tour player, French Lick sponsored staffer, and former Tour Championship finalist Adam Schenk as we talk about his season to date. We'll also finish our conversation with Kyle Westmoreland, already a winner this year on the Korn Ferry Tour, and we'll catch you up on the Korn Ferry Tour point standings through the top 20 through the first 6 events of this season. We begin, however, with a catch-up on the Astara Chile Classic, which was played at Prince of Wales Country Club in Santiago, Chile, the 6th event on the season and the 4th event in the Latin America swing, rounding it all out. Logan McAllister was your winner. He won for the first time on the Korn Ferry Tour in his 60th career start. He won by a single shot on 19 under 265. He shot 7 under 64 in the final round to follow up a third round 8 under 63 to make up the vast majority of his strokes under par, and that was enough to get the win over Davis Chatfield, who finished in solo second place. Several players finished in third position at 15 under total, well off of that second place number from Chatfield. Matthew Anderson, Hank Lebioda, who's already won this year on the Korn Ferry Tour, won the season opener. Kensai Hirata and Cole Hammer all finished tied for third place. We're now through 6 events on the Korn Ferry Tour schedule, and we have 26 in total, leaving 20 total events remaining on the schedule. There are 4 events in the finals, which means there are just 16 regular season events remaining for players to qualify for the Korn Ferry Tour finals, starting that process of making their way to French Lick Resort for the Pete Dye course for the Korn Ferry Tour Championship presented by United Leasing and Finance. We now take a look at the full top 20 in the point standing. So these players today, if the season had ended, would be the players who move on to the PGA Tour in 2026. Hank Lebioda remains number 1 and has been number 1 throughout the entire season. He has 828 points and a sizable lead over Justin Suh, who's a winner this year at 599 points. Josh Teeter is third on the list at 591 points. S.H. Kim on the back of 2 runner-up finishes this year, including in a playoff in the season opener, is 4th at 569 points. Davis Chatfield, on the back of that second place finish in Chile, is in 5th place at 534 points. Logan McAllister, the winner in Chile, is 6th on the list at 516 points. Kyle Westmoreland, who we'll talk to later on in the show, is 7th at 502 points. Sudarshan Yelamaraju, the winner of the second event in the Bahamas, is on 8th place at 500 points, the 500 points he won for getting that victory. Christo Lamprecht, the South African, the highly touted amateur, now professional, is 9th in the standings at 477 points. Kensai Hirata is 10th on the list at 426 points. Pearson Coody, former PGA Tour card holder, is 11th on the list at 410 points. Johnny Kiefer is 12th at 394 points. Austin Smotherman 13th at 365 points. Former PGA Tour card holder Russell Knox is 14th at 319 points. Davis Shore is 15th on the list at 315 points. Mitchell Meisner is 16th on the list at 309 points. Cole Sherwood is in 17th position at 275 points. Ian Holt is 18th at 266 points. Dylan Wu is 19th at 255 points. And Alistair Doherty is 20th on the list at 245 points, placing him 21 points clear of the number 21 position so far through 6 events this season. Now we're pleased to bring you our conversation with Adam Schenk, a French Lick staffer and supporter, an Indiana native, Purdue University graduate, PGA Tour member, and a former player in the Tour Championship. He joined us to talk about his season to date, his NCAA tournament picks, and his journey on the Korn Ferry Tour, getting to where he is today. Hope you enjoy this conversation with Adam Schenk.
Adam Schenk, how you doing, buddy? Welcome to the Road to French Lick. We're glad to finally get you on.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on.
How's it going out there? You were a longtime friend of the program, but of the facility as well. We're happy to call you a partner in our endeavors at French Lick, and we're very excited for you to be participating in the PGA Tour. But what we want to touch about is sort of like your journey and how you got to where you're at today, and then touching on some of your experiences on the Korn Ferry Tour. But let us know how you're doing right now.
Hanging in there right now. Golf game's trending. I was playing really nicely about a month ago, and then just kind of the last 2 or 3 weeks haven't been quite as good, but my swings got a little hooky. So I noticed when I flew back, we were in Indiana for a couple weeks. We had our second son, Connor. He's just over 4 weeks old, so he's doing awesome. Court's great. Thank you.
I have a son, Connor, as well.
Nice. That's what we named it after.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
But came back down to Florida and was just absolutely hooking everything. So I'm slowly getting out of that. But players this week, major disappointment. Love the golf course. Conditions could have been better, but just didn't quite have my best stuff. Going to get to Tampa tonight and then do some practice tomorrow. I think we're going to play the Pram on Wednesday and then go play somewhere else for 18. So should have a couple of good days to get in some work. And then I've played well here a couple of years ago, finished second. So have some good vibes going into this tournament. So we'll get a couple good days of work in and see where it puts us.
Perfect.
When you feel close to where you want to be, what's the level of frustration of feeling close versus almost feeling way far away from it?
It's kind of it's an interesting situation. There's sometimes I almost enjoy the struggle a little bit because when I've worked with Dr. Rob Bell, sports psychologist, and talked to a couple other sports psychologists before. And it's, you learn so much more through hard times than good times. I would say, I guess you could say winning, but I haven't done that on the PGA Tour ever, so I wouldn't know what that feels like. Hopefully we accomplish that this year. I played my best tournament probably ever in Hawaii this year. Didn't have a ton of good things happen, meaning, a couple of good breaks, lies in the rough, or you make a couple 30, 40 footers, chip in, get an up and down that you shouldn't. So just need to sharpen up a few things. Game's feeling better. Pretty bad the last couple of weeks, but when you start to see the light at the end of the tunnel, that's when you can, start to complete your circle, as I call it. And I feel like going into players, I had about 50% of it completed, and which means I hit about 95% good golf shots, but the 5% that's bad is way too bad. I hit 2 of the biggest duck hooks you've ever seen in your life. Like, they should revoke my PGA Tour card for those shots, but hopefully we get a little work in and then figure it out before Thursday.
Now,
how does that play out for you over the course of a Korn Ferry Tour season? And how do guys, yourself or other people maybe you talk to who've gone through that experience, how do you kind of keep it all together over the course of the ups and downs of a year, knowing you might be close, you might be far away, and sometimes you might be almost unstoppable over the course of 25 tournaments?
Yeah, that's a great question, a great point. I think that's an overlooked factor in how the best players in the world are better at that than everyone else. It's such a long season, as you mentioned. Everyone's going to have ebbs and flows, great weeks, bad weeks, great months, bad months, and you just try and limit that. And there's so many golfers in this world that could play on the PGA Tour, but I think what separates people that don't play on the PGA Tour to people that play on the PGA Tour, and then the people that really excel on the PGA Tour, is when you get that little bit off, how can you get back to that middle point where you can still compete with, your B game or C game and make a cut and finish 25th, as opposed to it gets off the rails, you stay off the rails, and then it's not good for a long time and you kind of start to spiral out of control. And that's really easy to do out here. You can start tinkering with equipment, instructors, kind of lose your way a little bit. So you see it happen all the time. It eventually happens to everybody a little bit, but I always call it, I talk about it like getting in the weeds. When you try and get better at golf, that's really hard because you change one thing and it changes something else. So I think sometimes you have to get a little bit worse at golf before you get better. But when you go in the weeds and you can't see where you're going anymore, then you backtrack instead of keep going down that bad path for a month. I think that's, something I'm generally very good at. But when you're trying to get better at golf, as I mentioned, it's really tricky. So you have to be able to get back to your straight and narrow, which makes you, being able to make cuts and play on the PGA Tour, because everyone's pretty damn good that gets to the PGA Tour. It's just remembering that you're pretty damn good and getting back to your old ways.
When you were on the Korn Ferry Tour and you found yourself in the weeds and then you pulled yourself out and then you got your tour card, how big of an adjustment is it going from the Korn Ferry Tour to the PGA Tour?
It's huge. The players in the Korn Ferry Tour are outstanding players. I don't know, you can get into the argument it's the second best tour in the world. I probably think it is. Obviously, there's a ton of great players in Europe. There's just a ton of great players everywhere. And then with them reducing like the full PGA Tour cards to 100 this year instead of 125, there's a lot more people playing more events this year. I don't want to say every event they get into, they're playing, but guys are playing more now than they ever have. So the money's more, which anytime there's money, that brings competition. So it's never been a more competitive landscape in professional golf, and especially with the PGA Tour. And that's not even to mention all the live guys that are very capable of still playing on the PGA Tour and being some of the best players in the world. But it's coming out here and competing against guys. I guess I could use myself as an example. I've played the PGA Tour courses, 7 or 8 times now. When you're coming off the Korn Ferry, you don't know the course. You don't know where to stay, the locker room, where the range is at. And it sounds small, but all that is a new adjustment every week. So the first year on tour is very difficult. And if you can keep your car, I don't know what the rate is. I'd be interested to see the rate of people that keep their PGA Tour cards over the last 20 years and what that percentage looks like. I did not. Wasn't even close, really. So it's an impressive feat if you're able to do that your first year, because there are so many distractions. It's so different. The lights are brighter. There's a lot more, opportunity for gain and opportunity for loss. So as we mentioned, I think players sometimes get in the weeds, but if they have a couple people in their corner that keep them on the straight and narrow, some good mentors, I think that is invaluable.
Who are some of the people who have been mentors in your career?
So Rob Bradley, he's the coach at South Carolina now. It sounds weird to say. He was at Purdue for 10 or 11 or 12 years, but he came in my senior year and he really helped me and just helped me understand my golf swing and, shots that I'm going to struggle with, how to get better, shots that I probably should never try to hit in competition. They're okay to practice, but there's some shots you're just, due to characteristics in your swing or flaws, that you're just not going to ever be great at. So he helped me determine some of those things, and basically when you get in some situations, how to make par. But Charlie Hoffman's been really nice to me. He's beat me out of more money than I beat him out of on the putting green, unfortunately. Kind of makes me a little sad to say that. Webb Simpson's been great. Talked to Brandt Schnedeker about putting a significant amount. He's been awesome, but I've been lucky to have those guys help me and take me under their wing a little bit. And Jonas Blix, we played golf for 2 or 3 years, every practice round, Tuesday, 9 or 18 holes, little money game, every Tuesday, book it, doesn't matter what's going on, rain or shine, we were playing. And he really helped me, adjust to the PGA Tour faster.
Now as the season goes along, what are your goals for the rest of the way? I mean, obviously trying to get in that top 70, trying to get in the playoffs, then 50 and 30. When do you kind of start dialing in on what you need to do and start really being more conscious of those goals for the end of the season?
So I guess that starts in the off season, and I was pretty pissed off last off season. I really struggled mightily during the last half of last year. Got off to a pretty nice start. The year before, got a lot better at golf, had a lot of things go my way, caught a lot of breaks, even at the Valspar. I think the year I finished 9th in the FedEx Cup, I made a 70-footer on Sunday, a 24-footer for par on 17, a 6-footer downhill slider on par for on 18 to finish solo second, and Spieth missed like a 3.5 footer for me to finish solo second, and another guy bogeyed the hole as well, or else I would have been a 3-way tie for second. So I just had a lot of fortunate things happen my way. So it was a little bit of maybe like a sheep in wolf's clothing in a sense. So I was probably outkicked my coverage a little bit, but last year, second half really struggled. Thought I was getting better, but just really didn't have the results to show it, which that's the frustrating part in golf is when just because you're working hard, it doesn't really mean you're going to get better at golf. You have to be working on the right things. There has to be a little bit of luck and timing involved. And if you're working on the right things and working hard, then getting better is inevitable if you can stay patient. So you don't stay patient. You keep making those 1 or 2 little mistakes that are a bogey and a double per tournament or every other tournament. And it's just really hard to compete out here when you're spotting the field, 2 to 3 to 4 shots. And that's what I was doing a little bit at the end of last year, just because the 1 or 2 swings that I would make would be, hey, Brett, I need another ball for my provisional. So that was, something that was holding me back. In this offseason, I put in a lot of work and started off the season pretty nice at Sony. We finished 6th and a couple other top 25. So was trending nicely and then kind of got off a little bit, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel and I know what I need to do. And that's a big portion of it is when you're lost and you don't know what to do. That's when, if there ever was a time to worry, that's the time to worry. 1 bad month turns into 2. Oh, shit, excuse my language, there's only 2 months left in the season. I'm, 140 on the FedEx Cup. That's when the alarm bells start to go off for a lot of people. But I think you made a really good point. Like, if you're struggling, the time to freak out is now. Fix it, identify what's wrong. That way it's not lingering. It's not persisting. If you have a problem and you're not certain how to solve it, then, seek some help from a coach, an old coach, college coach, whoever it may be, and get back on the right track. And I think that's where a lot of people get off is they are working hard. They really care. They're putting in the time, but they're not working on the right things. And that's the weird thing about golf is you can work as hard as you want, but until you get it, until you understand what you need to do in your swing slightly differently to be successful, you probably won't be. So that's a tricky blind to toe.
Well, Adam, we really appreciate your time. We wish you the best of luck. We're huge fans, not only of you and your game, but all your pals that are out there as well. We need a prediction from you. It is March Madness, and we do have the Purdue Boilermakers coming in there. What do you think about the NCAAs, baby? What do you think?
That's a great question. I haven't looked at the brackets yet. I saw 2 predictions. I saw Duke was in the final game with the 2 guys that I watched before we were putting our AJ, our oldest son, to bed last night. They both had Florida winning. I couldn't even tell you who the 1 seeds are. Florida, Duke, but I think that's a good question. I haven't watched as much college basketball as I have this year. I think Purdue's going to do better than advertised. It seems like a lot of times before they've been peaking going like into the tournament and then have had some, not bad losses, but there's every team in the NCAA tournament's capable of upsetting anyone. So I think they're going to make the Elite 8 this year. IU got snubbed. That sucks. A lot of people, IU fans, Purdue fans, I can't stand the team. Of course, I'm always rooting for Purdue if they're playing IU, but I still want to see IU do well. Even when Purdue's not doing well, as in football, IU had a great year. I think that makes Purdue pissed off in a sense, and it makes them elevate their level in a sense. So I think Duke's gonna they're gonna be in the title game. I think if I was putting money on it, which I certainly will and do every March like a lot of people, not successfully, but I probably have Duke winning, which is such a boring take. It's not exciting. So I'll have to get back to you. Maybe we can do another one of these in a couple of weeks. And
done deal, dude.
And I'll have some more predictions then.
All right, Adam Schenk, we appreciate you, man. Best of luck out there. Kick some ass, take some names, and we'll see you hoisting a trophy real soon here.
I like that. We're going to get 2 this year. I think that's getting 2 for the end of the year. So that's our goal. Thank you guys for having me on.
Congratulations with Connor.
Yes,
your little baby boy. You. That's huge.
Thank you.
And that's a whole nother victory lap you got to take there. But we're pulling for you, and we wish you the best of luck, dude.
Thank you guys very much. Talk to you soon.
Thanks once again to Adam Schenk for joining us on the show. It was so great to have him with us. We're definitely going to have him back later on in the season. and hopefully we'll get to validate some of those NCAA tournament picks we wound up making in that interview. Now we're pleased to bring you the second part of our conversation with Kyle Westmoreland, who's already a winner this season on the Korn Ferry Tour. He's been on the PGA Tour, and he's in good position to get right back there so far through 6 events this season. Again, we continue talking about the process of winning on the Korn Ferry Tour, what it's like to celebrate, and then how to finish out the rest of the season knowing that you're so close to getting that PGA Tour card back. Enjoy the rest of our conversation with Kyle Westmoreland.
How helpful has it been to have a couple-week break before having to come back down, make that long trek again, and kind of decompress after a win instead of having to just keep on grinding right after having a trophy in your hands?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people say you want to keep playing, but I felt, I was very motivated to get home, go see the family. I think it's great. I think the scheduling is great this year, having the weeks on the front end and the back end of this trip. Because, if you just send guys straight forward, a lot of guys would not go this far south, right? Like Argentina and Chile are a long way away. But to have 2 weeks back to back with a couple weeks on the front end and I think 3 weeks on the back end, it's pretty nice. They did a good job scheduling it. So, gives us time to spend some time with the family, prepare to be gone from them for a couple of weeks, and then come back. So we're excited.
The last question: you're back at it, obviously, with Argentina. It seems like 1,000 points is kind of the number we've kind of heard floated as like the top 20 baseline. So you're more than halfway. You're halfway there, and then some. How long is it? Do you get to celebrate? And how long is it that then you got to get motivated? All right, I'm more than halfway there. Let's go finish the job.
Yeah, you know what? I think the first week that I was home, it was, we're kind of taking it in, like responding to texts. I didn't do anything with my phone until a couple days after, so I owed some people some responses, and that was awesome. But at this point, I'm ready to get back at it. It admittedly, like last year, I did we had our little guy, so wouldn't trade it for the world to be able to take some time off. But this year I'm just motivated. I won one, I got a taste. I want to win again. I want to win several more times, so we're our heads back down. We're working and excited to, try to get it done a second time.
Well, we appreciate what you have done. We're proud of you, man, but we're really proud of what you do on the side as well. We're big fans of the Folds of Honor. I know that you've been involved with Lieutenant Colonel Dan Rooney for a long time. And that's actually how you and I started up our conversation at French Lick. Tell us about your journey with Lieutenant Colonel Dan, I should say.
Yeah, it's been awesome. He's been great. As you know, he's a very charismatic guy. He's full speed. Talking about coming in hot. That's Dan Rooney. Like basically, I guess
I have stories, man.
I don't know exactly how old he is, but I gotta think since birth he's probably been coming in hot. So he's an awesome guy. I got introduced to him in college. I played their All-American tournament down in Phoenix a couple times, and was fortunate to win it as a senior. And after I won it, we kind of, we stayed in touch. He knew I was going to play professionally afterwards. We just didn't know how much service time I'd have. So during that service time each year, we'd do their Patriot, go to Oklahoma to play. And he's been very supportive. And so got to, the biggest benefit personally for that was just getting to link up with senior tour guys and different guys and kind of pick their brains, like I to that point, I hadn't run in those circles. So he afforded me those relationships and being able to, ask the Tom Leymans of the world, like, hey, what, for pointers, or Brad Faxons of the world, or Scott McCarron, it was awesome. It was awesome. And, through the years, we've stayed in touch, and I think I'm going to stay with him this year in Oklahoma right before we head to French Lick. So awesome. It'll be awesome. The Folds does such great work, and they got the Folds Friday initiative that's coming out this year, and I just think it's for a great cause. Supporting the family members of those like lost or injured, through education, I think is about as important as it gets. So love their mission, love how they go about it, and proud that I can, wear the logo sometimes.
Well, with over 62,000 scholarships for the families of fallen veterans and first responders, we're more than happy to do whatever you guys need to make it go through. On another note, how about a shout out to some of your sponsors? I mean, you've been on the tour. People have supported you throughout the years. Anybody you want to say hi to out there?
Dude, I got all kinds of people, that I don't think even an individual sport like golf, like nothing happens without a team, right?
Yeah.
And that team starts with your family, who enables you to even do this. My wife, my son, my wife, basically allows me to play golf. She runs our lives, and I just try to like make add up scores less than 5 at the end of the day, right? So family, sponsors, RSM has been great. There's B3 Group that was out there for a while, Puma, Cobra. Man, it's just been such a great opportunity to meet, not only have sponsorship to allow me to play, but also to meet these people in these organizations and, see their, I guess, their desire to push, individuals forward in their games and my sponsors along with coaches, Jeff Smith, Alan Terrell, Chris Como helps me out. So like, it's Stephen Sweeney, like, man, we've got a team and I'm proud of our team, my agent, Brad Buffoni. I'm proud of our team. And I think, with them, with their help, we can take this game a long way.
Well, we're proud of you, man. Thanks for coming on to Road the French Lick. Hopefully we don't see you in French Lick. Hopefully we see you somewhere else.
You know what? The number one spot, we were talking about it, the number one spot is very valuable. So I think regardless, you win 3 times and you get that automatic promotion. I think it could very well be worth it in the end to come back to French Lick. And by the way, it's the hardest tournament. It's the hardest course of the year. And I think it's an awesome venue for the finals, for the Korn Ferry Tour Championship to end in French Lick, where you make your difference tee to green is very important because the PGA Tour, the top guys on the PGA Tour separate themselves strokes gained tee to green, right? And French Lick measures exactly that. It beat me up a little bit on Sunday last year, but it's just an awesome spot. We appreciate y'all doing it. Nothing. Sundays don't happen without Wednesdays, and I know that y'all do so much to make sure those pro-ams happen and bring people in. So I was fortunate to be at Victoria National before. Yeah. That place was hard. French Lick might be harder. I don't know. But it's awesome to have that tournament as the tour championship. So I appreciate it.
I tell you, United Leasing and Finance, Ron Romain and his group have just been fantastic partners. And we were really excited about having it this year, but we have 4 more years left to go and hopefully more than after that. So Kyle Westmoreland, man, you're the bomb. Congrats, brother.
Well, thank you. One day, if you really want to ruffle some feathers, you can put that tee box back on 16 and see what happens,
Okay. I tell you what, that thing is 301, 301 from back there, water on the right-hand side with the wind blowing right to left the whole time. So
it's got to be the hardest par 3 in the world.
There's a fairway bunker in the middle on a par 3.
Yeah, there's water right and there's gunch left. Like I mean, from 301 yards, I've never seen a par 3 that hard. It's probably like a pretty manageable par 5, I'd say, from back there.
Well, I've had many 5s from back there before. So that's par for me. Yeah, well, I tell you what, you keep this up, you can be on a show whenever you want, man.
I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great one, and thanks for having me on.
Well, that's going to do it for us on this episode of the Road to French Lick. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Korn Ferry Tour comes back to the United States and starts their run in the United States and one in Mexico for the rest of the year in Savannah in just a few weeks' time. Once that tournament is complete at the Club Car Championship, we'll recap that event for you in a future episode of the Road to French Lick. For Brendan Sweeney, everyone at the French Lick Resort, I'm Ryan Ballengee. For everyone at Golf News Net, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Road to French Lick.